Howdy folks, and welcome to the Hillbilly Kitchen. Today we're going to be making creamy chicken soup. Now, this is Alex's absolute favorite soup, and it is guaranteed to warm up the coldest, gloomiest winter day. This soup is really tasty, and it'll fill you up. It makes a great dinner or a great lunch. So let's get started. Now, I started this from scratch, and I used the 3 whole chicken breasts like I did in the how to make chicken and broth for recipes. And that's what I have right here. This is my broth. I didn't even take it out of my pot, and I've got my chicken deboned. I've taken the skin off and discarded that, and I've chunked it up a little bit. Now, you don't need to cut it up too small, because as you cook it with the vegetables, it's going to continue to bust up and get in smaller pieces. But you do want to slice it up, because you don't want real long strings of chicken in your soup. That just doesn't taste good. It's okay if it busts up and it's smaller pieces, that's fine, that's going to happen. If you need to shortcut this, I'll put a link in the description to the video where you can make your chicken and your broth. But if you need to shortcut it, this is about 1.5 pounds of cooked chicken, and you want at least 4 cups of broth. Now, I'm just going to dump my chicken back in my broth, because that's first step there. Like I said, this is 3 whole chicken breasts. I think it was about 4 pounds of raw chicken, and it gave me about 1.5 pounds once I cooked it and cleaned it up, cut it up. Okay, you're going to want about 1 pound of raw carrots and 1 pound of raw potatoes. Now, whenever you're cooking something that has carrots and potatoes both in it, you want to do one of 2 things. Either you want to cut your carrots smaller than your potatoes, or you want to put your carrots in first and cook them 10, maybe 15 minutes before you put your potatoes in, because carrots cook much slower than potatoes. And when you're trying to get it done, your potatoes are going to turn into mush, and your carrots are still going to be crunchy. So either cut your potatoes smaller, which is what I've done, or I'm sorry, either cut your carrots smaller or put them in first. And you can see the difference in size here, like the chunks of potatoes and carrots. These will get done at about the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and dump them in here. Don't want to have so much to carry back over to the stove. If you have new potatoes and they have really thin skins on them, you can leave the skins on your potatoes when you make this soup. It won't hurt anything. But my potatoes weren't super fresh, so I went ahead and peeled them. And it doesn't matter what kind of carrots you're using this. They had the baby carrots on sale, so that's what I got. Now, this is the basic soup, and we're going to season it with salt and pepper and onion powder. Now, to make it creamy, you need 1 cup of milk and 3 tablespoons of flour. If you want a gluten-free version of this, all you need to do is substitute the flour for about 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch. It's really simple, not a big deal. It'll make it about the same way. If you don't have flour, you can use about 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch. In fact, in any recipe that uses flour to thicken it, and if you want the gluten-free variety, just use about half as much cornstarch as you would use flour, and it works the same way. And you also need 8 ounces of cream cheese. So I'm going to take this back over to the stove and add a little salt, pepper, and onion powder to it. You want to cook it on about medium heat, at least until it comes back to a boil. Now, this is all to taste. You could chop up an onion, dice it, and put it in here if you wanted to. I just prefer the onion powder in soup, especially if I'm doing some kind of creamy soup. And I know this has the chunks of chicken and the chunks of vegetables and stuff in it, but I still prefer the onion powder in it. But if you want to dice up an onion, that's fine. And I'm probably going to put about a tablespoon of onion powder in it, because that's really going to give it a lot of flavor. And you're not going to need as much salt if you have the onion powder in to flavor it. Also, if you're using canned broth, you know, to save some time, you probably won't use any salt. Or if you do, you won't use very much. But the potatoes and the carrots are going to take a little bit of salt. So just give that a little bit of a stir. Put the lid on it. Leave it on medium heat until it at least comes to a boil. If it's trying to boil over or your lid's bouncing around too much, you can turn it down a little once it starts to boil. Let it simmer on low until your vegetables are tender. Okay, I've got a pot here that I've had cooking for about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. And you can check your vegetables just with a fork. If the fork goes in them really, really easy, they're done. The potatoes may even split if you stab them with a fork like that. But you can tell they're done just by stabbing them with a fork. You do want the vegetables tender in this, but you want to try not to cook it until they're completely turned to mush. Okay, now to thicken it, remember, you never add flour or cornstarch to hot liquid. If you dump the flour right in the pot, it's just going to make a lumpy mess and it's going to be awful. So add your flour to your milk or your cornstarch, whichever one you're using. And just mix it up a little bit. Now you can see here I've still got quite a few lumps in this. You do not want to add this to your hot soup until you get those lumps out. And cornstarch doesn't usually lump like this. It usually dissolves really, really easy. So it's probably the easier of the two thickeners to use in something like this. Okay, that looks pretty good. I've got some teeny tiny lumps, but they'll be alright because when I pour this in here, it's actually going to cool it down a little bit. It's not going to be quite boiling. So I'm going to add it all real quick. And you want to give that a little bit of a stir because you want to get that flour all down in there. And you can see how much my chicken has really cooked up into just little bitty pieces. And there's not really any huge chunks left in there. And then we're going to go ahead and add our cream cheese. You can cut it up in a few pieces or you can put it in there in one big chunk. Cream cheese melts pretty easy. We're just going to stir this until it kind of comes back to a boil and thickens. And you can see it doesn't have a ton of juice in it, even though we had that whole 4 cups of broth, maybe even a little bit more. It's almost like it just has a gravy in it. I absolutely love 1 John. That's probably my favorite book in the Bible. It's where I go to when I want to be encouraged. Whenever I'm having a bad day or maybe things aren't going just right, or even if I'm having a problem, I can always find encouragement there. And I like it because it seems like it's about salvation, and it's about hope and a hope of salvation. And in chapter 1, it says that God is light. And it says that when we walk in the light, we will have fellowship one with another. And I really want this channel to be a light in the darkness, because the world is getting to be a pretty dark place, and YouTube is definitely a pretty dark place. I can't do that by myself. When people come to this channel, they read your comments. They don't just watch my videos. So I want to encourage you all to leave comments on all of the videos on this channel whenever you have time. And you can leave a scripture, you can leave a prayer request, you can leave an answered prayer, you can leave a story of a miracle, you can leave your salvation story. Whatever you want. Now, I can't answer them all. I can't answer all the comments y'all are leaving now. I do love to read them all, and so does everybody else. But together, I think we can really, really make this a light on YouTube. And maybe it'll encourage other people. I mean, you never know when you're going to read or when you're going to leave a comment and somebody's going to come along and your comment is going to be just what it takes for them to realize how real, how great, how wonderful God is, and how real salvation in Jesus Christ is. And that's up to all of us. We are the light of the world now. We have to let people see the light of God in us in order for them to be saved. So leave comments and talk to each other, fellowship with one another on this channel in the comment section. Let's make this a place where we can fellowship in the light, where we can share Jesus, a place that will attract people who are seeking God, and a place where people can find God. I really want you guys all to help me do that, and I think that we can. And I want to share recipes and I want to share food, but more than that, I want to share Jesus Christ. I want people to know that our Lord is alive. So join with me, help me shed some light in YouTube. Okay, this looks pretty thick, and it is definitely done. Like I said, you can see my chicken just kind of all shredded up, and that's really kind of what you want. A few chunks definitely don't hurt anything, but you want it kind of like this. And that's all there is to it. Now, Alex is waiting downstairs because she's going to take some of this home with her. She's been begging me to do this video for 2 solid years. But you can serve this just like it is for a meal because it's pretty solid. You can serve it with your favorite sandwich. Grilled sandwiches are great with it. Or just some like cheesy breadsticks or something. So I hope you all will give Alex's favorite soup a try this winter or even this summer. Maybe take some shortcuts if you're doing it in the summer, because I know we all get busy and it's way too hot to stay in the kitchen cooking chicken for 2 hours to make a pot of soup. But even if you shortcut the chicken a little bit, this is way better than anything you can get out of a can. So I want to thank y'all for joining me in the Hillbilly Kitchen. Don't forget to click like and subscribe before you leave. And until next time, remember, put God first.